Hey guys, it's Danny. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, feel free to press that subscribe button so you can see more videos from me in the future. Today's video is going to be taking kind of things back to the roots of this channel and where I started. So when I first started this channel, I made a lot of videos about nutrition and, like natural remedies, and a lot of it was based off of anxiety because I was in probably the worst stage of my anxiety disorder and agoraphobia and panic disorder that I had ever been in when I started my YouTube channel, which was a great outlet for me. So I wanted to kind of take things back to those roots and talk to you guys about anxiety, because I feel like now with so many people coming forward and being so open about their thought processes and healing processes on TikTok and other social media platforms, that it has really helped me to see other people talk so openly about their mental health. So I wanted to kind of give that back to the internet from myself in a way. And I know this isn't a fashion, like a bikini try-on haul, it's gonna get thousands of views and be, on that level, but this is something that speaks really true to my heart, so I wanted to put it out there. So I hope you enjoy. So to begin, I just want to say I have a ton of videos about the history of my anxiety. If you want to watch them, I'm going to try to link as many as I can find on this channel because I've made so many from different categories over time. I'll try to link them in the description box down below so you can kind of review and see how I've progressed over the years and talked about different topics over the years. But yeah, it's there might be some videos where I have pink hair or really short blonde hair. There's been some changes. So a brief history of my anxiety. I, as a kid, was an anxious kid, but there wasn't anything that really stood out that was so different about me probably until middle to high school. In high school, I really realized that something was wrong, but I didn't know what was wrong. Nobody really knew what was up because I just had a really hard time staying in classes. I kind of maybe would have been looked at as a bad kid because I was hiding in the bathrooms instead of going to classes, so I was skipping classes. I was literally leaving the school by faking an early dismissal pass by just taking a yellow piece of paper, flashing it to the security guards outside, and by myself on my own making the decision to just walk home instead of being at school. And I just remember the feeling of I would rather die than be in this classroom right now. Not literally, but just the feeling of absolute doom and feeling so trapped and so uncomfortable and not knowing why, just feeling really unsafe for no reason. And that's a really big part of an anxiety disorder or disordered anxiety, is feeling unsafe in situations that are otherwise safe for everybody else. Being the only car on the block whose car alarm goes off with just a slight breeze of wind. People in my family also have anxiety disorders, so I was able to connect with them once I realized that I did have an anxiety disorder and panic disorder that stemmed from that. But there's a lot of people that have been in my life over the years that have no idea what anxiety feels like. So it's kind of hard to explain it to someone who's never felt that feeling. And I found a couple ways that you can help explain to your partner, to your loved one, to your family, what it feels like to have anxiety, because I feel like a really big part of them being a good support system to you is trying to put themselves in your shoes, at least in the moment, to help support you and be there for you. Now, before I get off topic, I do want to mention that I learned that I myself am the biggest tool or the safe person that I need. So basically, it's just over the years you realize that you don't need one single person to bring you down and ground you. It's nice to have that in the moment as a help, but no matter what your task or your goal with your anxiety disorder should be, or I feel it should be, and it's helped me, is to be that safe person for yourself. Carry all the tools you need because they're within you. But I'm gonna read off just a few examples of what you could say to someone if you want to help them understand what anxiety feels like. And this goes for anybody who's viewing this just out of entertainment purposes and doesn't have an anxiety disorder and just kind of wants to know or you want to help someone else in your life by knowing this. So anxiety feels like you forgot to do something important, but all the time. That drop in your stomach, that feeling like, oh, there's something I needed to do, but I don't remember what it is. And you have that feeling. It's kind of what anxiety feels like, but there may or may not be an actual trigger to it. Another way to explain what it feels like to have anxiety is when your chair tips back and you almost fall, but you catch yourself. I mean, we've probably all done this in like middle school, elementary school, whatever. You're like tipping your chair back, whatever, and then like you almost fall but catch yourself. Like that drop, that feeling, it stays like that. It can stay like that for a long period of time. Now, panic attacks in general are different than anxiety or generalized anxiety or heightened anxiety. Panic attacks are a shorter, more intense experience, and anxiety it could be just generalized where it's staying with you just for days. I mean, I've had periods in my life where I was anxious all day long, from the time I woke up till the time I went to bed, and the only second that I didn't feel anxious was like the one waking moment when I opened my eyes. I felt that calm feeling, and then it was right back to feeling like I tipped back in my chair. So there have been some rough points in my anxiety, but I am glad to be where I am today. And I just want to say, I probably should have said this in the beginning of the video, that I am not a doctor. I am not certified in any way to be giving mental health advice. I don't have education on this other than my own experience, and that is just for entertainment purposes only and to possibly help anyone out there. Now, to help describe a panic attack to someone who's never had a panic attack before, there are so many different physical symptoms that come with a panic attack. So I don't think I can even scratch the surface of fully properly explaining it the right way, but I guess I'm just gonna read off of what I have written on my phone. And just an example is like standing in line at the drugstore, you start to just feel this weird sensation of feeling disconnected and strange. There might be an internal trigger. A lot of them for me are in my body. So if I feel something kind of weird and I'm hyper focused on something internally, that can trigger just a weird, even a visual disturbance. Like you get like a little dizzy for a second, which could be just nothing. That could be your first like trigger to a panic attack without realizing it. So I start to feel really strange and disconnected. My legs feel like jelly and I start to get dizzy. I feel a whoosh feeling going through my head. My heart's pounding and I feel hot and sweaty. My vision gets blurry. My other senses are heightened. A lot of the time during like the heat of a panic attack, your senses will go super high. So you'll smell things so much stronger. Usually they're bad smells. Things are just heightened because that's what fight or flight is technically. So your body's going into fight or flight adrenaline mode for no real danger. And then that also leads to kind of trying to escape the situation, get out, find your exit. That's kind of what has always been a trend for me, is like, I gotta get out, I gotta go home. So then that led to agoraphobia, which is kind of basically the fear of leaving your house, because that became my safe place. And that was rooted in so much avoidance of kind of going out and facing the situations that was causing me to panic. Somebody's bringing their garbage cans in outside. Now, agoraphobia isn't always just the feeling of being afraid to be outside or leave your house. It is the feeling of being away from a safe place. Now, your safe place could be a car, it could be something else. It doesn't have to be your home. A lot of the times it is the home, but agoraphobia just thrives under the illusion that we need to escape wherever we are. So it's hard to live life like that. So for a little while, that is how I lived life until I decided to really push myself and take baby steps to slowly, you know, take small trips, travel more, and be comfortable and find a comfort zone in wherever I was, to be able to manipulate that feeling of comfort in a new place that I've never been before and make myself feel safe because my home is now within myself, if that makes any sense. I don't know if this video just sounds crazy, but I am trying here. What I've talked about so far is a bit of just an overview to help you understand my background, what anxiety is, just skimming the surface a little bit into anxiety and panic disorder and agoraphobia. So if you have any questions, please leave them down below. If you check out my other videos, you can probably have like a lot more information about my personal history and my stories about that. I mean, I have so many more, so feel free to ask any specific questions I can put in a future video. I'm going to try to make this sort of a series on my channel if I have the time. I've been super busy with my candle business. I'll leave that link down in the description box below if you're curious what I've been up to. But now I'm going to talk about grounding tools for when you are feeling a panic attack coming on or just super high anxiety. Feeling anxious is often the result of drifting from a present moment. Now, grounding tools are so important because they're bringing us back to where we are instead of worrying and living in the future or in the past or just disappearing somewhere in our mind in between. This somewhere in between in our mind could also be hyper-focusing on a physical bodily symptom, which a lot of the time can trigger a panic attack. So these grounding tools are so important because once you kind of work on them and strengthen them, kind of like a muscle in your body physically, you get better and better at like catching yourself and realizing like, whoa, I'm doing it again. So you pull yourself out of it and you start to feel better quickly compared to when I didn't know these tools and didn't have these skills built years ago, when I would just out of control have panic attacks around the clock. It just shows the importance of learning these skills and working on them over time. And if you are trying, please don't get discouraged, because I was trying everything I could, or I thought I was at the time. And I'm sure that you are too, because everybody's journey and everybody's battle looks so different and it takes different time, and some people have different ways of handling it, whether it's medication or it is not using medication like me. So just don't get discouraged with your journey and just keep taking those steps towards your better mental health. So to help bring awareness into the now, as a grounding tool, there's a few methods, and you've probably heard of some of them, like the ice method, taking an ice pack or a cube of ice, putting it on the back of your neck or on your wrists. This helps you focus on this feeling. I've also heard of using warheads or really sour candy. It just kind of activates a certain part of your brain that forces you to focus on that. There's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. I've seen this a lot on TikTok. I've used it myself. I must say, this is not really the ice, the warhead, and this method. They're not really the methods that I use for grounding. I kind of do it in my own way, which I'll talk about after this. But the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, well, I'm lying. I totally have used this, but I just don't really use it too much anymore. It's 5 things. So you just count down 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can smell, 2 things you can feel, and 1 thing you can taste. And maybe it doesn't have to be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Maybe it could just be 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Just count 1 thing you can see, 1 thing you can hear, 1 thing you can feel. It's really identifying your surroundings in the present right now and taking your mind away from the internal place that you're at. Another grounding tool is having these kind of cognitive strategies that you've worked on, or maybe you're trying it for the first time, and that is awesome if you're gonna go for trying this. But this is kind of mainly what I do, and it's reframing your thought process. And I do think this is probably more difficult than the other grounding tools that I just told you about, because it takes a lot of mental strength to kind of like self-awareness in that moment. And sometimes if you let yourself go, it's really hard. Like if you are already kind of past a certain point in the panic, this is really difficult. But if you catch this at the right time, you can reframe the negative thoughts into positive ones. So what if it did work out? What if something positive happened, instead of like, what if I throw up? Or what if I embarrass myself? Or what if everybody sees me do this? Or what if I get hurt, whatever negative thought you might be like worrying about. What if I'm having a heart attack? Try to reframe it with something positive. What if I'm not going to embarrass myself and I'm just gonna have a great fun night at this party? Just try to reframe the negative into a positive thoughts. Think about, what if it all works out? You know, that quote that's like, what if I fall, but what if you fly? That kind of thought process, I guess. For me, the grounding tool that I use the most is another cognitive, I suppose, kind of tool, but it kind of just involves talking to myself, and it is from so many years of experience with having anxiety and realizing the patterns and the steps that go into my personal panic attacks and my personal triggers. So when I will experience a trigger or when I will experience a sensation, a lot of the time I do have the ability to catch myself in that moment and talk to myself in my head. So a lot of people will, or at least myself, when I first started my journey with trying to work through my anxiety, I felt like I needed a person with me in challenging or panic evoking situations, like public situations, crowds of people, traveling. I felt like I needed a safe person with me to rationalize thoughts for me anytime they would come up, if I had irrational thoughts. So that person would be able to kind of do what I do for myself now. And having that person there, if you have a person that can be that supportive for you, that's amazing. But I think it's really important to be that for yourself and then also have that person. So then you have a bonus. But in that way, I am that person for myself, so that no matter where I go, I can talk to myself and realize that I am kind of drifting from the present and be like, whoa, you're just feeling anxious right now. It's okay. Talking yourself down off of the cliff before you end up on top of the cliff feeling like you're gonna fall off the cliff, which would be the panic attack. And just rationalizing for yourself the feelings that you have. Like, oh, I feel weird right now. Oh, maybe it's because you're tired. You didn't sleep well last night. That's why you feel a little bit dizzy right now. You're not gonna pass out. You're gonna be okay. And welcoming that anxiety and being like, I am anxious and it is okay that I'm anxious. Because I found a lot of times when you fight off that anxiety and you're like, I'm calm, I'm totally calm right now, I am not anxious, and you're trying to lie to yourself to take yourself down from that anxious level, a lot of times that resistance causes higher anxiety. And for me, I've actually found that if I tell someone in the moment when I am so, and this is not easy, I struggle with this all the time because I do feel embarrassed still when I feel anxious around people who may not understand or may not deal with it themselves, or even if they do deal with it themselves, sometimes I feel really embarrassed to tell someone that I feel anxious, because you know there's no reason to feel anxious, so they're gonna think you're silly. That's what you think in your head. But sometimes voicing it out loud and being like, sorry if I seem weird right now, I just feel really anxious. It takes the wall down and it allows that person to see you for who you are in that moment and even help you if possible. But it also kind of makes you a little bit more comfortable, which helps with your anxiety, or if I found has helped, because it's all different for everybody, but I'm just trying to give you the best tips that I have under my belt. I also feel that with anxiety disorders, we definitely can feel a fear of abandonment. And I know that I do have that. So over the years, it's something that I've realized about myself and something that I've worked on in terms of becoming more independent and self-sufficient emotionally, to where I don't really fear being alone at all, and I don't fear being abandoned. But it is such just a nervous system type thing. Like, your nervous system is wired to be afraid of being abandoned because of things that may have happened in your past, like being abandoned literally for having anxiety and someone giving up on you or feeling like that, when really it's nobody's fault. You know, everybody has different wants and needs in life and in relationships, but it can feel really, really rough when that feels like the reason that you were left. It could definitely stem from childhood as well. But it's something that once you find self-awareness about and know that you have a fear of abandonment that is linked to your anxiety, you can strengthen that and really dive deep into digging your own roots into the soil with yourself and feeling like I can be alone and I'm fine, and if somebody wants to leave, they can leave, and that I have myself and I will find what's right for me. Nothing that is right for me will pass me by. So like just learning to accept that this is who you are and this is your journey, and to ride the waves is just a huge part of having anxiety. Like, this is who I am, this is what I got, and we are only getting better and better at it. Welcome it, because remember that resistance that you will have against it will cause it to dig deeper inside of you. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. I know it was a rambling mess. I had it so much more organized in my head. I promise I will hopefully make the next video a little bit more of an organized topic. But if you found this helpful, definitely leave a comment down below and give any tips, or share your own personal story if you feel comfortable doing so down there. So thank you guys so much for watching. Press the subscribe button to see more videos, and give this video a thumbs up if you want to support this topic on my channel. Bye.